Lesson 1. Before we get into a lot of the more dynamic parts of this course, as well as the calculator, which is really what this is all about, we have to understand basic principles, and that is the way your body responds. Priority number 1 is going to be calories, how much food I'm eating. Priority number 2 is going to be macros. That's short for the word macronutrients, which is what kinds of foods am I eating. Number 3 is going to be how am I training, and then number 4 is going to be my motivation to stick to numbers 1, 2, and 3. So right now we're going to talk about calories, okay, which is basically how much food I'm consuming. If you will, imagine a room in a house, okay? So we've got this room in this house, and I'm going to call the floor of this room our BMR, our basal metabolic rate. BMR, basal metabolic rate. I'm going to call the ceiling of this room the TDEE, total daily energy expenditure. What do these things mean? So imagine the floor of the room. This is basically how many calories you need to be consuming just to lay there on the floor, to not do any kind of activities, just to lay there in a comatose state. How many calories does my body need just to function, just to live? Basal metabolic rate. If you want to think of it this way, basically your metabolic rate, that's it. Basically your metabolism, okay? The ceiling of this room that we've created is called your TDEE, total daily energy expenditure. This is how many calories my body needs based on how active I am, based on how much exercise I'm doing. So if I'm not doing much exercise, then this room might be pretty small. If I'm an Olympic swimmer, then this room might be a gymnasium. So it really just comes down to how active am I, okay? Now, the way we figure out someone's BMR or TDEE, there are a few different equations that exist in the literature. One equation is called Harris-Benedict. It takes into account someone's age, their height, and their weight. The Harris-Benedict equation went through a revision in the 90s. They revised it, and then later on, they ended up scrapping it for what's called Mifflin-St. Jeor equation. What they found out was Mifflin-St. Jeor was just a little bit more accurate. Mifflin-St. Jeor, Jeor. And so the equations we're going to use, and the equations that I use in the calculator at the end of the course, is Mifflin-St. Jeor as well as Catch-McArdle. Catch-McArdle is another equation that just takes into account your body fat percentage. So those are the two most accurate equations, in my opinion, for calculating your BMR and your TDEE. Now, why is this important to know? Let me explain. So here's our floor again. Here's our BMR. Again, this is the number of calories I need to consume just to live, just to exist, okay? And it's fixed. It's a fixed number based on age, height, weight, body fat percentage, okay? The upper number here is the TDEE, okay? Total daily energy expenditure. This is how many calories I need based on how active I am. Now, what we need to figure out is what happens if I eat above this line, if I eat between these lines, if I eat below this line. Well, if I eat above this line, if I eat above my total daily energy expenditure, what's happening is I literally have extra amounts of energy. I have extra building blocks with which to build, and that's what's going to happen. So if you eat above what your body needs for your activity level, your body has what I call extra Legos, and so it's going to build. And based on how much I eat above my TDEE, based on the kinds of foods I eat above my TDEE, it's going to dictate what I look like. But one thing is for sure, you're going to get bigger, okay? Now, if I eat below my basal metabolic rate, what ends up happening is a couple of different things. My body's going to go into what's called starvation mode. Let me swap this marker out right here. My body, if I'm eating below my basal metabolic rate, what happens is I'm literally eating below what my body needs to function, right? And so my brain and my hormones, in the beginning, I'm going to lose some weight. But then what's going to happen is my body's going to go into starvation mode. My stress hormones are going to be released. You've heard of cortisol. That's going to happen. I'm going to start storing all of my fat. I'm going to even burn through some of my skeletal muscle, which is the last thing you want. You don't want to burn muscle. You want to hold on to your muscle. and I'm not going to be entirely pleased with the outcome. Now, what happens here is a lot of people, they'll do crash diets, right? So they'll eat below their BMR, they'll exercise like crazy, they'll eat like less than 1,200 calories a day, and you can go below your BMR occasionally, okay? But you don't want to be there for a very long period of time, because what happens is, as I burn through my muscle, I'm going to start dropping my basal metabolic rate. My metabolism is going to drop. So now what's going to happen is, as this drops, when I go back to eating any kind of food, I'm going to gain a lot of my weight back. Also, crash diets are not sustainable. You don't want your body in that kind of a stress mode. And you're also, like we said before, you're below the calories your body needs just to function. So you don't want to be there at all, if possible. Now, these are, by the way, fad diets, right? This is where the fad diet takes place. And you kind of know this, and you've even seen this or heard of this. A lot of people that go on some of these weight loss shows, when they do update videos with these individuals, they have gained a lot of their weight back. And that's because they were on some kind of crazy crash diet that was unsustainable. And when they go back to eating any kind of regular foods, they gain a lot of their weight back. Now, so if our goal is weight loss, which most people, their goals are to burn fat and gain muscle, that's mostly what they want to do. If that's my objective, then what I want to do is I want to eat in here, in this zone, right in here. Because what's happening is I'm below what my body needs for my activity level. I'm above what my body needs just to function. So now I'm in this real nice sweet spot where I have the luxury to burn fat. And that's where you want to be, okay? Above my basal metabolic rate, below my total daily energy expenditure, here's where I burn fat. That's where you want to be. By the way, interestingly enough, I have a few friends that are nurses. Some are nurses in trauma units, some are nurses in cancer wards, and so they have told me before that people in a comatose state are actually fed a liquid diet of 1,200 calories. So just keep that in mind. Most people in a comatose state are fed 1,200 calories liquid just to keep them alive. So if you're ever eating below that, you're probably more active than somebody in a comatose state. So you want to make sure that you're not below this number for very long. Again, if at all. So there you have it. That's most people don't even know what these numbers are. And if you don't know what these numbers are, that's okay. We're going to solve these numbers at the end of the course using the calculator. But the big thing I want you to take away from this is the first step to understanding how to make the calories work for you is to solve your BMR, which is a fixed number based on your age, height, weight, or body fat percentage. Then you solve for your total daily energy expenditure by multiplying your basal metabolic rate by a particular factor, and we'll get into that when we get to the calculator. And then once you know what these two numbers are, it's really easy to try to solve for how many calories you should be consuming. But that's the foundation we're going to build off of, and we're going to continue in the next lesson. Thanks, guys.